The weekend started like they always do with my family. Loud greetings, too much food, and endless rounds of, "Have you been eating enough?" from my mother. I pulled into my parents' driveway Friday evening with a trunk full of groceries, gifts for the kids, and that low buzz of anxiety I always get when I'm back in my hometown. The house looked the same. Same red shutters, same creaky porch swing. It was supposed to feel comforting. Sometimes it did. This time, it didn't. My sister Jenny rushed out first, arms open, grinning like we were still 16 and sharing bunk beds. Behind her was Kyle, her husband, with their toddler in one arm and a beer in the other. "You made it," Jenny said, hugging me tight. "Of course I did," I replied with a small laugh. "Wouldn't miss the annual chaos." Kyle nodded toward my car. "That trunk looks suspiciously full," he smirked. "Gifts," I said, pulling bags out. "Some kitchen stuff for Mom, and—" I handed Jenny a tablet wrapped in cartoon paper. "For Lucas." "Claire," she gasped, "you didn't have to." "I wanted to," I smiled. Kyle whistled low. "Must be nice being the rich aunt," he said with a chuckle. "Must be nice having no filter," I replied, keeping my tone light. That was Kyle's thing, always joking, always just kidding. But his jokes had sharp edges, always had, and the older I got, the less funny they felt. Inside, the reunion was in full swing. My parents, cousins, uncles, and aunts filled every room of the house. The smell of pot roast and baked apples hit me like a memory. I dropped my bags, kicked off my shoes, and tried to settle into the rhythm of the weekend. Dinner was a blur of overlapping conversations. My uncle's new car, my cousin's third baby. Someone mentioned crypto. Someone else mentioned layoffs. When I said I'd just finished a major contract at work, my dad raised his eyebrows. "Still doing that computer stuff?" he asked. "It's finance tech, actually," I corrected gently. "But yeah, still doing it." "Good money in that," Kyle muttered across the table. "If you know how to keep it." Jenny elbowed him. "Stop," she whispered. "I'm just saying." Kyle shrugged. I changed the subject. Later, while helping my mom clean up, she asked, "You still single?" I nodded. "Yeah, for now." She made a noise like disappointment and handed me a plate. "You're 32, Claire, not getting younger." "I'm aware," I said, drying the dish. "But I'm not settling just to tick a box." She didn't respond. She didn't have to. That night, I set my phone on the guest room nightstand and collapsed onto the bed. I'd been scrolling through emails when Jenny knocked. "You awake?" she asked softly from the hallway. "Barely," I said, sitting up. She stepped in, sat on the edge of the bed. "I just wanted to say thanks," she said. "For the tablet, for always showing up." "Of course," I said. "You're the reliable one, you know," she added. "Mom and Dad might not say it, but I see it." "Thanks," I said, genuinely touched. She hesitated, then asked, "You still use that Monobank app?" "Yeah," I nodded. "Why?" "No reason." She smiled quickly. "Just thinking I should try it. Ours sucks." I gave a tired laugh. "It's solid, secure too." She stayed a minute longer, then got up and left. I watched her close the door behind her. The rest of the weekend passed in a blur of lawn games, photo ops, and polite small talk. I kept catching Kyle looking at me, too long, too amused, like he knew something I didn't. On Sunday, I left before brunch, saying I had an early meeting Monday. Jenny hugged me tight again. "Drive safe," she said. "Tell Lucas I said bye," I replied, tossing my bag in the trunk. Kyle leaned against the railing, sipping coffee. "Don't spend it all in one place," he said with a wink. "Spend what?" I asked. He just smiled. As I pulled out of the driveway, a weird feeling settled in my chest. I brushed it off. I wouldn't know until hours later, sitting in my kitchen with a cup of tea, that something was very, very wrong. It started with a declined transaction. I was at my desk Monday morning, trying to order a replacement charger online, when the payment didn't go through. That didn't make sense. I had more than enough in checking. Maybe it was a glitch. I logged into my bank account. At first, nothing looked strange. Then I refreshed. The balance dropped. My stomach dropped with it. I clicked into the transaction history. Several large transfers, 3, maybe 4, each a few $1,000s, all to external accounts. My heart pounded as I traced the destinations. The names attached were unfamiliar, but one phone number linked to an account caught my eye. Jenny's. My breath caught in my throat. I triple-checked it. It was hers. Another transfer was linked to an email address I recognized as Kyle's. I had seen it once, years ago, when we shared a Netflix login. I stood up too fast. My chair scraped loudly across the floor. I walked in circles around the kitchen, grabbing my phone with shaking hands. I dialed Jenny. No answer. I called again. Voicemail. I texted, "Call me. Urgent." 10 minutes passed. Then a message popped up. Jenny. Claire, I'm sorry. We just really needed help. We didn't know how to ask. Another ping. Kyle. Chill. It's not like you're hurting. We needed it. My fingers froze over the screen. Then I called again. Jenny answered on the 4th ring. You stole from me? I asked, my voice tight. It wasn't like that, Jenny said quickly. Then explain it, I demanded. We were desperate, she said. The bills, the mortgage. Kyle's work's been slow. I thought maybe if we just took a little, we could pay it back fast. A little? I snapped. It's over $18,000. There was silence. Then she whispered, We didn't think you'd notice right away. I stared at the wall, completely numb. How did you even get in? I asked. You gave me your old phone, remember? Jenny said. You said it was wiped, but your banking app was still installed. We figured it was just sitting there. So you went through my old phone and used it to drain my account, I said slowly. We were going to tell you, Jenny said. When? After you emptied everything? I shot back. We were going to start paying you back this month, she said. We were just scared to bring it up. You weren't scared to hit confirm, I said bitterly. Kyle texted again. Kyle, you're making this a bigger deal than it is. You've always had more. We just leveled the field. I read the message twice. Did Kyle just say you were leveling the field? I asked coldly. Jenny didn't answer. I hung up. I sat down and stared at the transaction list again. I took screenshots. I called the bank, explained what happened. They told me they could flag the transfers, but because it technically came from a device I had authorized, my own old phone, it might not count as fraud in the traditional sense. I wanted to scream. Instead, I listened. You should contact law enforcement, the representative advised. I thanked her. Then I put my phone down and stared out the window. The sun was shining. Birds were on the power line. It didn't feel like the kind of day where your own sister stabbed you in the back. Around noon, I got in the car. I didn't tell them I was coming. I drove straight to Jenny and Kyle's house and walked up the driveway. Kyle opened the door like he'd been expecting a pizza. Wow, he said, not even trying to hide his smirk. That was fast. I walked in. Jenny appeared in the hallway, eyes red like she'd been crying. You both really thought I wouldn't notice? I said, trying to keep my voice steady. We thought we had more time, Jenny whispered. Kyle snorted. We needed it, he said. You're not exactly scraping by. That's not the point, I said. You accessed my account. That's illegal. You gave her the phone, Kyle replied. That's not on us. You knew it was wrong, I said, turning to Jenny. I didn't know what else to do, she murmured. You ask, I said. You always ask. I've always helped. But this? You crossed a line. I turned to leave. Jenny followed me to the door. Please, Claire, don't go to the cops, she said. We'll figure this out. We'll fix it. You won't, I said flatly. I will. I drove straight home from their place, my grip so tight on the steering wheel that my knuckles ached. There were no tears. Not yet. Just this strange, hollow sensation. Like I had left a part of myself back in their living room when I walked out. My mind kept looping the same words over and over. We needed it. You've always had more. You gave her the phone. It wasn't the money. Not really. I mean, yes, it was a lot. $18,000 isn't something you just shrug off. But what hit harder, what cracked open something deep in me, was the way they said it. So casual. So entitled. Like my success made me fair game. When I got home, I opened my laptop and started gathering everything. Screenshots of the transactions. The messages. The call logs. I put it all in a folder labeled Theft, in all caps. It felt almost theatrical, but I needed the visual weight of it. Then I called Marissa, my best friend. They stole from me, I said as soon as she picked up. Wait, who did? Marissa asked, concerned. Jenny and Kyle. They used my old phone. Took almost 20 grand, I replied, trying to keep my voice even. What the actual hell? She snapped. Are you okay? I don't even know. It feels like I got pickpocketed by my own reflection, I muttered. Are you going to the police? She asked. I think I have to, I said. The bank told me it might not be considered fraud because it came from a device I gave her. But I can't let this slide. Claire, she said gently, this isn't just about money. This is betrayal. This is nuclear. I leaned back on the couch. Yeah, it feels like it. After we hung up, I spent the next hour going over old texts. It wasn't the first time they'd leaned on me. Jenny's, can you spot me just until Friday? Messages had become monthly. Kyle's passive-aggressive jokes about my salary, my apartment, my vacations, they were all there in hindsight. Red flags I never waved back at. I remembered the time I paid for their car repairs, the time I co-signed their rental lease when they got denied, the time I let them use my streaming accounts, my food delivery discount, even my Amazon Prime. And not once did I think I'd need to protect myself from them. That night, I drafted an email. Short, factual, formal, to Jenny and Kyle. Subject, repayment and legal action body. As of today, $18,460 has been withdrawn from my account without my consent via a device that was not authorized for banking activity. I'm giving you 10 days to return the full amount. After that, I'll file a formal police report and pursue legal recovery. Claire. I hesitated before sending it. Then I clicked Send. 2 days passed before I heard anything back. Jenny texted, We can't pay it all at once. Can we do monthly payments? Please don't take this to court. It'll destroy us. Then another. It was a mistake. We thought you'd understand. I didn't respond. I wasn't interested in negotiations. Not anymore. On the third day, I got a call from my mom. I heard you're mad at Jenny, she said flatly. Mad? I repeated. Mom, they stole from me. You gave her the phone, she said. You should have wiped it better. I blinked. That's your takeaway. She's your sister, she replied. You don't throw family under the bus. They already threw me under it, I said. Claire, don't ruin the family over this, she said quietly. I didn't ruin anything, I replied. They did. Later that night, I got a voicemail from my dad. You're overreacting, he said. This is a family issue, not something for lawyers. I turned off my phone. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Her name was Evelyn. Calm voice. Sharp questions. Do you have proof the funds were transferred without your verbal consent? She asked. Yes, I said. Screenshots, messages, call recordings. And were those accounts tied to people you know personally? She continued. My sister and her husband. She was quiet for a moment. You have a case, she said. It's messy, and they'll try to make it emotional. But legally? It's theft. I exhaled. I needed to hear that. Do you want to pursue criminal charges or just civil repayment? She asked. I want them to know this isn't okay, I said. And I want my money back. Then we go civil first, she said. If they resist, we escalate. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I'm tired of being the responsible one and getting punished for it, I said. I get it, she replied. People like you end up with the heaviest bags because everyone assumes you'll keep carrying them. The legal notice went out 2 days later. Jenny called me sobbing. Claire, please, she cried. Kyle's freaking out. If this goes to court, we're screwed. You should have thought of that before you took the money, I said. We didn't know what else to do, she sniffled. Try asking next time, I said coldly. What about Mom and Dad? She asked. They're heartbroken. They think you've turned into a stranger. I haven't, I said. I've just stopped being your backup plan. That night, I sat alone in my apartment. No TV, no music, just silence. And for once, I wasn't scared of it. The court date was set for a Wednesday morning. I didn't sleep the night before. It wasn't fear. It was something heavier, something I didn't know how to name. Betrayal didn't cover it anymore. It had gone deeper than that. This wasn't about the money. This was about how disposable they made me feel. When I arrived at the courthouse, the hallway outside the hearing room felt colder than I expected. Jenny and Kyle were already there. She looked down at her hands. He looked straight at me with that same smirk he'd worn since the beginning. You really brought lawyers into this? Kyle asked, shaking his head. You're unbelievable. No, I said, my voice calm. What's unbelievable is thinking you could rob someone and walk away smiling. You gave her the phone, he snapped. You left the app on. This is on you. Then we'll let the court decide, I replied. Jenny didn't speak. She looked like she'd aged 10 years in 3 weeks. Her shoulders curled inward. Her voice was barely a whisper when she finally spoke. Claire, please, don't do this. I looked at her. I didn't do this, I said softly. You did. The hearing was civil, just arguments, evidence, timelines. No handcuffs, no yelling. But the tension was unbearable. My attorney laid out the facts, timestamps, IP logs, the exact path of access from the old device to the transfers. Jenny's name attached to 2, Kyle's to 1, all unauthorized. Their lawyer didn't deny the transfers. Instead, he leaned into emotional appeal. They're family, he said. They were in financial crisis. They panicked. They didn't intend harm. They didn't ask permission, my attorney replied. That's theft, family or not. When I took the stand, I felt surprisingly steady. My voice didn't shake. I have always supported my sister, I said. Every birthday, every crisis. I helped them move. I've given, loaned, co-signed. But this wasn't a loan. They accessed my account without my consent. And when confronted, they laughed. The judge listened, didn't react much, just scribbled notes. At the end, when it was over, we stepped outside into the sunlight that felt too bright. Kyle stopped me near the steps. You feel good about yourself? He said bitterly. Dragging us through court? No, I said. I feel like I finally stopped letting you use me. He scoffed. Jenny stood beside him, eyes filled with something unreadable. Regret? Shame? I didn't know anymore. I never meant for it to go this far, Jenny whispered. Then you should have stopped before you hit send, I replied. They walked off together. Later that night, I got a call from my mom. I can't believe you went through with it, she said, her voice cold. I warned them, I replied. They're your family, she said. This could ruin their lives. They weren't thinking about mine when they emptied my account, I said. You've changed, she muttered. No, I said firmly. I finally stopped pretending. There was silence. Then she said, Don't expect to be invited for Christmas. I wasn't, I replied, and hung up. Afterward, I sat on my balcony and watched the lights of the city blur into the dark. I thought I'd feel triumphant. I didn't. What I felt was clean, like ripping off a bandage and finally letting something breathe. I got an email from my lawyer later that evening. The judge ruled in my favor. Full repayment ordered, payment schedule set, court fees covered. It was a win, on paper at least. But what I had really won was something else. Distance, clarity, the end of pretending everything was fine. 3 months passed. The first payment hit my account on the first of the month, just like the court order required. It came with no message, no apology. Just a quiet transaction labeled Court-Ordered Payment, J and K Reynolds. Every time I saw it, I felt the same odd mix of resentment and relief. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about knowing I had finally stood up for myself, even when it hurt. I changed my number not long after the ruling. I didn't send out a mass update. I didn't explain. I let the silence do the work. Marissa came over one Friday night, bringing pizza and a bottle of wine. "You seem lighter," she said as we sat out on the balcony. "I feel it," I admitted. "Do you miss them?" she asked softly. I thought about it. The laughter at family cookouts, late-night talks with Jenny when we were younger, watching her hold her son like he was her whole world. There were good memories, but they were buried now, weighed down by everything they'd taken. Not just money, but trust, respect, safety. "Sometimes," I said, "but I don't miss who they became." She nodded. "That's fair." I got a letter a few weeks later, handwritten. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting immediately. "Jenny, Claire, you don't have to forgive us. I know what we did. I think about it every day. I'm not writing to beg or ask for anything. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry. Not just for what we took, but for making you feel like your kindness didn't matter. I see it now. I wish I'd seen it before. Jenny, I read it once. Then again. I didn't cry. I didn't crumble. I folded it and put it in the back of my closet, behind some old books I hadn't touched in years. I didn't respond. Some wounds heal better with no further contact. I started running in the mornings. Not for any dramatic reason. Just something to do with the energy that used to go into keeping peace. I'd wake early, tie my shoes, and let my feet hit the pavement in steady rhythm. It felt like reclaiming space. Like proving to myself I could move forward, one breath, one block, one choice at a time. Eventually, my parents stopped reaching out. No more guilt-ridden voicemails, no more silent missed calls from my dad's number. They disappeared into their own silence. And for once, I didn't chase it. One day, I ran into a former coworker at a cafe. We chatted, caught up, laughed. "I heard what happened," she said gently. "The court thing. With your family." I tensed. "I just wanted to say," she added, "you did the right thing. That couldn't have been easy." "It wasn't," I admitted. "But I'm not sorry." "You shouldn't be," she said. "Protecting yourself is not the same as abandoning others." I smiled. I hadn't heard it put that way before. But she was right. One night, I was scrolling through old photos. I found one of Jenny and me as kids. We were in matching swimsuits, grinning at the camera, water dripping from our hair. That version of us felt like a different lifetime. I stared at the photo for a long time, then quietly deleted it. Not out of anger, just clarity. We are not those people anymore. That summer, I took myself to Paris. It had been on my list for years, but I'd always said, next year, or when I have time. Now, I just booked it. No announcements, no itinerary. Just me, a suitcase, and a city I'd dreamed about since I was 14. On the third night, I sat outside a cafe in Montmartre, a glass of wine in front of me, the Eiffel Tower flickering in the distance. A couple next to me was arguing in French. A group of tourists passed, laughing loudly. I watched it all like a movie. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was watching from behind a glass wall. I was in my life. Present. Free. My phone buzzed with a text from Marissa. You coming back or becoming a full-time Parisian? I smiled and replied, still deciding. Thanks for watching. Thanks for